more than to be your man or woman, then you do this. That is the first message coming through here. And wow, this already feels shocked, possessive, bruised, and very stirred up. This feels like somebody who had started forming a picture of you being theirs in a very real, serious, heart-level way. And then something shifted in your energy, your attention, your behavior, or your level of availability, and it shook them. I do not feel this is casual upset. I feel this is wounded longing mixed with disbelief. It is almost like they had a private future forming in them, and now they are reacting to the possibility that it could slip. So let's go ahead and see where you are in this connection right now. What is your overall energy here? Here is the Queen of Swords. So yes, I feel you have become sharper lately, more discerning, more watchful. Less willing to just melt because somebody wants you. For many of you, you have pulled your energy back, or you have stopped making it easy for them to assume your heart. And I do not feel this comes from coldness. I feel this comes from wisdom. You may have reached a point where you are saying, if you want something real with me, then show me. And where is this person right now? Here is the Emperor. Wow, okay. So yes, this is somebody who very much wants that role with you. They want to be the one who stands beside you, claims you, protects you, and is chosen by you openly. But I also feel this card shows ego here, pride here, expectation here. It is like they imagined stepping into that place, but they did not expect to feel challenged by your distance. And what is going on for both of you right now? Here is the Five of Wands. So yes, there is tension here, not necessarily a total blow up. But friction, mixed signals, emotional push and pull, maybe competition, defensiveness, or bruised pride. I feel both of you are feeling each other very strongly, but the way the energy is moving is not smooth right now. What else for you? Here is boundaries, yes, and that fits the Queen of Swords perfectly. You are not as open-handed with your softness right now. You are measuring, observing, deciding. And I feel this person can feel that shift very clearly. And for them, here is possession. Wow. Yes, this is somebody who has started to picture you in a much more committed space with them. And now that they feel you pulling back or acting different, they are getting rattled by it. For both of you, here is pressure, beautiful, because that is exactly the feeling here. This connection is under pressure now. Not because there is no feeling, because there is a lot of feeling. All right, two cards coming out for you. Here is discernment, and here is self-respect. Yes, I feel your spirit is saying you are not here to reward almost effort anymore. For them, here is outrage. Well, not always outward outrage, but inner upset. I feel they are thinking, what changed? Why are they acting different? Who else has their attention? For both of you, here is crossroads. So yes, this looks like a threshold point. Here is your next energy. Nothing will come of this situation. Wow, okay, let's clarify that. Here is the Ace of Cups. So I do not take that as there is no love. I take that as the old pattern cannot continue. The old rhythm, the old assumptions, the old half-held connection cannot stay the same. And I feel you have changed too, because you are no longer responding from pure longing. You are responding from value. You are asking for substance. So the main energy coming through is this person wants a place beside you very badly. They have already pictured it. They have already emotionally claimed that idea. And now that your energy has become less predictable, less available, or less impressed, it is shaking them badly, because what they want is not small. They want a title, a place, a certainty. And I feel the problem is that your actions right now are forcing them to face whether wanting that is enough, because the heart may want the role, but the connection is now asking whether they can earn it. Let's get one more layer here. What did their silence protect? Here is the Four of Pentacles. Yes, self-protection, image, fear of exposure. They kept gripping the situation instead of trusting the heart and speaking plainly. But clinging is not the same as building, and I feel they know that now. Let's get one more. Here is the Five of Swords. Yes, pride interfered, wanting to win inwardly without risking outwardly, and that strategy failed them because it left them with distance instead of closeness. Okay, let's keep going, because I want to look at some more details here. What are you thinking overall about this person and about this connection right now? Here is the Two of Swords, the Ace of Pentacles, and the Sunday. Wow, so I feel part of you still sees potential here. You do not think this bond is empty. The Ace of Pentacles says you know something real could have been built here. The Sunday says there is still warmth, still recognition, still a bright spot in your heart. But the Two of Swords says you are no longer giving your certainty away easily. You are waiting for proof now. You are no longer filling in the blanks for them. And what are they thinking about you right now? Here is the King of Cups, the Seven of Pentacles, and the Four of Cups. Wow. Okay, so this person thinks of you with depth. The King of Cups says they think of you in a tender way, but they do not show all of it. The Seven of Pentacles says they know something meaningful was growing here. And the Four of Cups says they are uncomfortable with how uncertain things feel now. I feel this person thought your attention would stay more available to them. And now they are feeling your emotional distance, and it is making them restless and dissatisfied. What are you feeling overall about them right now? Here is the Six of Cups, the Tower, and Justice. Wow, yes. So there is history in the feeling, or at least a deep familiarity that lingers. The Six of Cups says your heart still remembers sweetness. The Tower says something about this connection has shocked, unsettled, or disappointed you. And Justice says you are now viewing all of this through fairness. What did they really do? What did they really give? What do they deserve from you now? That is a very different lens than simple longing, and it matters. And how are they feeling about you right now? Here is the Knight of Cups, the Seven of Pentacles, and the Devil. Wow. Okay, the Knight of Cups says their heart wants to come towards you. The Seven of Pentacles says they have invested feeling here over time. And the Devil says they are attached, triggered, and struggling to stay calm. This is somebody who is not just admiring you, they are tangled up in what they want from you. Let's clarify that Devil. Here is the Nine of Wands. Yes, so there is defensiveness in them. They may be reacting from bruised pride too. And one more, here is the Page of Cups. So underneath the ego flare, there's still a softer emotional wish here. They want tenderness from you. They want reassurance from you. They want to know that the door has not closed. That is very strong. So let's look at your intentions toward them right now. Here's the Queen of Pentacles, the Eight of Cups, and Judgment. Wow. The Queen of Pentacles says you still know your own capacity to love deeply. The Eight of Cups says you are willing to walk away from what dishonors that love. And Judgment says you know the truth of this connection is being exposed. Now, your intention is not to play games. Your intention is to see what is real and act accordingly. And what are their intentions toward you right now? Here is the Knight of Wands, the Moon, the World, and the Hierophant. Wow. The Knight of Wands says they want movement, they want momentum. The Moon says they are still wrestling with fear, insecurity, and uncertainty. The World says the old chapter is ending whether they are ready or not. And the Hierophant says beneath all of it, they want something more official and solid that matters, because it shows their desire is not only impulsive. They may be scattered now, but at the root they want more than a flirtation. What exactly has been blocking them? Here is the Four of Swords. Yes, waiting too long. Thinking instead of acting, pausing instead of risking. And another block here is the Five of Swords. Pride, defensiveness, wanting control, wanting to protect the ego while also wanting your heart. And I feel that combination is exactly what has put this at a standstill, because while they were still deciding how to keep power, you began reclaiming your own. And now the entire connection is forcing them to see that your heart is not a place they can assume. Let's get one more layer here. What do they think you are doing now? Here is the Nine of Pentacles. Yes, they think you are becoming less dependent on them. They think you are turning back toward yourself, toward your own life, your own glow, your standards. And that realization bothers them because it proves your world does not freeze around their confusion. Let's get another detail. How do they read your silence now? Here is the Queen of Swords. They read it as distance with meaning, not coldness, not indifference, something chosen. And that is why their mind keeps circling. They know your energy is asking for more. All right, let's look at the shared field between you now, because this is where the reading starts revealing its own truth. How are you both thinking in this connection? Here is the Two of Cups. Wow. So yes, there is mutual significance here. This is not one person imagining destiny while the other stands untouched. The Two of Cups says both of you know this bond matters. Both of you know it carries weight. Both of you know it asks for choice. And how are you both feeling? Here is the Nine of Swords. Yes, there is strain on both sides. There is emotional pressure on both sides. For you, it may have shown up as wondering how long you should stay open. For them, it may have shown up as wanting more while also fearing exposure. Let's clarify that Nine of Swords here is the Three of Pentacles. So the real challenge has not been whether the bond exists. The challenge has been how to make this real in the everyday world, how to move from chemistry into structure, how to move from wanting into effort. Because that is what I keep feeling here. The feeling is not the missing piece. The missing piece is mature follow through, and the connection is demanding that now. So let's look at where this connection is headed in the near future. Here is the Hierophant, the Page of Cups, and the Star. Wow. Okay, with the Hierophant, I feel the next phase wants more honesty, more seriousness, and more conscious direction. The Page of Cups says there is a soft opening trying to happen. A message, an admission, or a heartfelt gesture with tenderness behind it, and the Star says there is healing and relief trying to enter this connection. I really like that combination because it feels like the energy shifts from strained distance into visible motion. Not everything solved, but something finally moving. Let's get another card for the near future. Here is the Eight of Wands. Wow, yes, movement. Contact, a faster rhythm, things starting to happen after a slower phase. And here is the Hermit reversed. Wow. Okay, so somebody is stepping out from behind their own inner world. Somebody is getting tired of silence. Somebody is getting tired of distance. What advice does Spirit have for you right now? Here is the Ten of Cups. Beautiful Spirit is saying, do not place your happiness on hold. Yes, this connection matters. Yes, this person wants a place beside you. But your peace, your joy, and your emotional home still deserve protection. Now let's get another advice card. Here is self-respect. Yes, exactly. You do not need to punish anybody, but you do need to stay rooted in what your heart truly requires. Because wanting the role is one thing, being ready to hold it is another. And Spirit wants you watching for that difference very clearly. Let's see what this person would say to you if they could speak from the heart. Here's the first message. I know I cannot keep hovering around this. Wow. Yes, that fits completely. Here is another. The more I imagine losing my place with you, the more I know I have to stop standing still. Yes, that feels very true. Here is another. I do not just want your attention. I want a real place in your world. Wow. Yes. And that line matters a lot because it shows the desire has become more defined inside them. It is not only longing anymore, it is a wish for identity beside you. Let's get one more. I know the next move changes everything, but I also know doing nothing is changing everything too. Yes. And that really is the threshold energy here. Because once a person understands that silence is also a choice, they start moving differently. And I feel that is what is happening here. So Spirit is saying watch for momentum, not because momentum by itself solves everything, but because it tells you this person has crossed some line inside themselves. They are no longer only feeling they are getting ready to act from it. And I think once that happens, the tone of the whole connection changes. Because now the wish has direction, now the wanting has consequence, and now your heart has something more visible to respond to instead of reading everything alone. Let's get one more detail here. What shifts the pace? Here is the Magician. Yes. Decision starts changing the field. Once a person chooses to speak, the whole emotional weather begins to reorganize itself. And I feel that is very close now, not someday close. Let's get another layer. What does this movement actually carry? Here is the Six of Swords. So I do feel it carries a wish to move out of turmoil. Not to erase the past, but to leave the worst of the silence behind. That matters because it shows intention. They do not only want reaction, they want relief too. And I feel your side of this changes as well, because once something real arrives, your heart no longer has to keep surviving on intuition alone. It can respond to form. Okay, let's keep going because I want to look more closely at what is happening inside this person now that the emotional pressure has become so intense. What are they most afraid of if they step fully toward this? Here is the Tower. Wow. Yes, this person is afraid of how much changes once they stop pretending they are fine, because I do not feel they can come towards you halfway and stay untouched. I feel they know that if they really admit all of this, it shifts their image of themselves. It shifts the whole field between you. What else are they afraid of? Here is Justice. Yes, so there's fear of accountability. They know desire is not innocence. They know wanting a place in your life is not the same thing as earning that place. And if they come forward now, they may have to face what they failed to protect, what they delayed, what they avoided. What do they want most with you now? Here is the Two of Cups. Beautiful. So underneath all the inner conflict, what they want is closeness, reciprocity, and a real choice in the direction of this bond. I do not feel they want to keep living on the edges of this forever. I feel there is something in them that wants a true place in your life. Not only fantasy, not only private longing, something actual, something shared. And that matters because it shows the center of this is not empty. What would help this connection unfold in the healthiest way? Here is Temperance. Wow, Spirit is saying balance. Calm pacing, emotional steadiness. Truth without unnecessary drama. This is not a bond that needs more chaos for the sake of intensity. It needs enough groundedness for the truth to land well. Let's get another card for what helps. Here is the Three of Pentacles. Yes, grounded effort matters. Consistency matters. Follow through matters. If they want more with you, it cannot stay all hunger and no structure. What is the lesson you are meant to take from this phase? Here is the Queen of Swords. Wow. Yes, you are learning how to stay open without becoming vague. You are learning how to feel deeply without abandoning your standards, and that is powerful. Because it means you can recognize desire without letting desire decide everything for you. What is the lesson they are meant to take from this phase? Here is the Hanged Man. Yes, this person has been forced to see themselves differently. They have had to sit with the reality that imagining a future is not the same as acting in a way that could create one. And I feel that perspective shift matters because they are starting to understand that if they truly want the role, they cannot keep hiding inside pride, delay, or passive wanting. Something cleaner is being asked of them. Let's get another card for them. Here is Heart Chakra. Beautiful. So I feel they are being pushed to live more honestly from the heart, not only want you in private from the heart. That is the actual growth here, not only feeling more, but allowing that feeling to transform behavior, timing, and courage. Let's see what else they would say to you. I want a place in your life, but I know I have to become different from the version of me that created this distance. Wow, yes, that feels very true. Here is another. I can feel your standards now, and part of me knows I should have respected them sooner. Yes, and here is another. I do not think I can keep acting like this is enough for me in silence. Well, yes, what are you being asked to remember while all of this unfolds? Here is the Empress. Beautiful. Spirit wants you rooted in your worth, your softness, and your natural magnetism. You do not need to convince. You do not need to convince. You do not need to shrink. The right partner meets you where you already are. Let's get one more. Here is the Star. Wow. Yes, stay open to healing. Stay open to a better outcome than what has been here before. But do not let another person's pressure become your emotional burden, because I feel the deepest guidance here is this. Let their wanting reveal them. But let their choices define the next chapter. That is how you stay in your power while the connection enters a more visible phase. And I do feel that phase is much closer now, because what has been denied is too strong to stay buried much longer. Their desire is loud, their heart is exposed. No, the question is whether they rise or whether they stay wanting from the edge. Let's get one more card here. What humbles them most? Here is the Five of Cups. Yes, seeing what is gone because of what they chose. Not in a dramatic performance kind of way, in a deeply human, painful way. I feel there are moments where they are confronted by memory and it undoes them. And another layer. What do they know they cannot fake now? Here is the Ace of Swords. They know honesty has to be clean. Now, not vague, not partial, not dressed up to protect the ego. All right, let's get deeper into the messages now because I feel there is a lot this person has wanted to say, but has not fully known how to deliver cleanly. Here is the first message. I cannot stop thinking about being closer to you, and it is getting harder to act like that is not true. Well, yes, that fits everything. I do not feel this person is lightly interested. I feel they are preoccupied. And I feel the preoccupation is growing. Here is another. I want your attention, your warmth, your time, and your nearness more than I want to admit. Wow, yes. And that says a lot because it shows this is not only attraction, it is a craving for access, a craving for space in your world. Here's another. When I imagine you giving your energy elsewhere, it throws me off more than I expected. Yes, because I think this person is being forced to face how emotionally invested they already are. Let's get another message. What is most alive in their heart right now? Here is, I want to be the one you turn toward. Wow, yes. And that feels very important because it is not only about wanting you in theory. It is about wanting to matter to you specifically. It is about wanting your focus, your openness, your softness, your time. What are they still hesitant about? Here is the Seven of Wands. Yes, so there is still defensiveness in them. They worry about your response. They worry whether your heart is still open in the same way. And they worry about what they will have to reveal if they stop protecting their image. That is very clear. Let's clarify the Seven of Wands. Here is the Five of Pentacles. Wow, yes. Another fear is being left out. Another fear is realizing they cannot just appear and expect everything to be available to them. And one more, here is Judgment. Beautiful. So the reason this still moves is because the inner call is stronger than the hesitation. What do they secretly hope for? Here is the Six of Cups. Yes, they hope the sweetness is still there. They hope the thread between you still carries warmth. They hope there is still tenderness to return to if they step closer. And I do feel that matters a lot to them. What does Spirit most want you to know about that? Here is the Queen of Wands. Wow. Spirit wants you to remember the power of your presence. This person is not reacting this strongly for no reason. Your energy has stayed with them. The way you look, the way you move, the way you carry yourself, and the way your attention lands all matter more to them than they say. Let's get another message from them. I am tired of wanting this in private. Wow, yes, that feels like the real shift. Because private wanting can only go so far before it starts becoming its own kind of pain. Here is another. I think about taking up a real place in your life, not just staying in the edges of it. Yes, and that says so much because it shows the longing is starting to turn toward actual intention. That is a very important change. What would help this next phase most? Here's the Knight of Pentacles. Beautiful Spirit is saying slower, sincere steps are better than impulsive moves made only from frustration or longing. If they come closer, let it be because they are becoming steadier, not simply more overwhelmed. That matters here. Let's get another card. Here's the Wheel of Fortune. Wow. Yes, timing is turning, the cycle is shifting. And I feel that is why the energy looks so pressurized. What used to remain stuck in private thought is beginning to want outer movement. What are you being asked to do with that? Here is the Empress and the Queen of Swords. Beautiful. Softness and clarity together. You do not need to harden. You do not need to prove your beauty. And you do not need to scramble just because someone finally feels more desperate to reach you. You simply remain in your worth and let the next move show you how real this person's intentions actually are. Because if they want closeness, then closeness must be approached with more care than longing alone can offer. Let's get one more message from their heart. I think wanting you this much is forcing me to be more honest with myself than ever before. Wow, yes. And that really is the core of the reading. The wanting is not the issue. The issue is what they do with it. And I feel the next step matters because it tells you whether they can transform raw desire into clearer intention, cleaner contact, and more mature energy. And I do feel they are close to that threshold now. Close enough that the connection may start feeling different very suddenly, because once a person stops fighting what they feel, their actions begin changing too. All right, let's close this out with some final messages. Because this reading feels like it is bringing private desire toward a much more visible threshold. Here's the first closing message. I do not want the role in your life in theory anymore. I want it in truth. I want it in the open. I want it for real. Wow. Yes, that is exactly the heart of this reading. This person has been carrying more attachment, more hope, and more urgency than they have been comfortable admitting. And I feel the reason it matters so much now is because your shift in energy has shown them what they could lose. Here is the next message. I know I wanted you before, but now I understand how much I want to be chosen by you. Wow. Yes, that is very important because it shows the feeling has deepened from attraction into identity. Here's another one. I keep imagining what it would be like to be your person, and it hurts when I remember that I may have mishandled my chance. Yes, and that realization feels like one of the strongest turning points here, because time no longer feels endless to them. Your heart no longer feels guaranteed. And that changes everything. It changes the urgency, it changes the pressure, and it changes the choices that come next. What does Spirit most want you to remember? Here is the Ten of Pentacles. Beautiful Spirit wants you to remember that your future is not meant to revolve around someone else's delay. Your life is full, your path is rich, and anything entering your world should add stability, care, and substance. Let's get another advice card. Here is the Star. Yes, stay open to healing, stay open to a brighter direction than what has been here before, but do not let another person's pressure become your emotional burden. And let's get one more. Here is the Queen of Swords, exactly. Clarity belongs here, truth belongs here, boundaries belong here. You can understand why somebody wants you this strongly and still require them to show up in a way that honors your peace. What is the highest potential here if both people honor what is being revealed? Here is the Two of Cups and the King of Pentacles. Beautiful. So the highest potential is mutual feeling meeting reliability, not only craving, not only fantasy, something with actual weight that matters, because this reading is not only about being wanted, it is about whether being wanted turns into being chosen, being respected, and being met. What would they say to you if no pride and no fear were left in the way? Here's the first message. I want to be yours in a real way, not halfway, not secretly, not vaguely. Wow. Yes. And that feels like one of the clearest statements here. Here's another. I know wanting you this much means I cannot keep acting casual and expect to keep you near me. Yes. Here's another one. The more I imagine losing my place with you, the more I know I need to do something real. Wow. Yes, that tells me the next chapter is not meant to stay only in imagination. The imagining has done its job. It has shown them the truth. Now action has to answer it. That is the message. Let's get one final oracle card. Here is truth. Wow. And here is another commitment line. Beautiful, so I feel the closing energy is very simple. Truth wants movement now. Truth wants approach now. Truth wants shape now. So the final message I am getting is this. This person wants nothing more than to be your man or woman, and your shift has forced them to confront that desire. Honestly, they are not as calm as they look. They are not as detached as they try to seem. They are not as certain of their control as they used to be. Spirit is also saying this. Desire alone is not enough. What matters from here is whether this person allows what they feel to make them braver, steadier, and more sincere. Because if all they do is want you in silence, nothing changes. But if the wanting pushes them into truth, then the whole connection shifts. If you have felt them becoming more watchful, more stirred, or more energetically loud lately, I feel you are reading that correctly. Something inside them has crossed a line. They know they want the role. They know they want the place. And they know your recent energy is asking whether they can really hold it. For now, stay calm, stay grounded, stay in your worth. Because the more you do that, the more clearly you will see whether this person is moving from longing into honest effort. And here is one final closing message. Wanting you this much has stripped away every excuse I used to hide behind. Wow, yes, that feels like the ending. The desire broke through the avoidance. Now we see what they do with the truth that remains. And I do feel what they do next tells you everything. Watch the action. That is where the answer lives now. Clearly, truly. Here's the first closing message. I do not want the role in your life in theory anymore. I want it in truth. I want it in the open. I want it for real. Wow. Yes, that is exactly the heart of this reading. This person has been carrying more attachment, more hope, and more urgency than they have been comfortable admitting. And I feel the reason it matters so much now is because your shift in energy has shown them what they could lose. Here is the next message. I know I wanted you before, but now I understand how much I want to be chosen by you. Wow. Yes, that is very important because it shows the feeling has deepened from attraction into identity. Here's another one. I keep imagining what it would be like to be your person, and it hurts when I remember that I may have mishandled my chance. Yes, and that realization feels like one of the strongest turning points here, because time no longer feels endless to them. Your heart no longer feels guaranteed. And that changes everything. It changes the urgency, it changes the pressure, and it changes the choices that come next. What does Spirit most want you to remember? Here is the Ten of Pentacles. Beautiful Spirit wants you to remember that your future is not meant to revolve around someone else's delay. Your life is full, your path is rich, and anything entering your world should add stability, care, and substance. Let's get another advice card. Here is the star. Yes, stay open to healing, stay open to a brighter direction than what has been here before, but do not let another person's pressure become your emotional burden. And let's get one more. Here is the Queen of Swords, exactly. Clarity belongs here, truth belongs here, boundaries belong here. You can understand why somebody wants you this strongly and still require them to show up in a way that honors your peace. What is the highest potential here if both people honor what is being revealed? Here is the Two of Cups and the King of Pentacles. Beautiful. So the highest potential is mutual feeling meeting reliability, not only craving, not only fantasy, something with actual weight that matters, because this reading is not only about being wanted, it is about whether being wanted turns into being chosen, being respected, and being met. What would they say to you if no pride and no fear were left in the way? Here's the first message. I want to be yours in a real way, not halfway, not secretly, not vaguely. Wow. Yes. And that feels like one of the clearest statements here. Here's another. I know wanting you this much means I cannot keep acting casual and expect to keep you near me. Yes. Here is another one. The more I imagine losing my place with you, the more I know I need to do something real. Wow. Yes, that tells me the next chapter is not meant to stay